Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, where everything you're about to hear and see has been done in one take. I am your host, the One Take Man. Today, through sheer coincidence, I found myself searching for the 42 Rules for Life, as written by Dr. Jordan B. Peterson. And I thought, well, what could I do here? Well, I decided I would do a tier list. I would order and namely, I would place all of Dr. Jordy B's rules for life in a tier list, given based upon how useful or how effective I think they are. In order to do so, I could have probably made my own my own tier list on Tier Maker, but I found this one that has all the numbers from 1 to 50 in some really ugly writing. But anyway, I decided this is what I'm going for. I I added two tiers to this tier list. Uh, One NA, non-applicable, where I already put all the numbers 43 through 50 because I'm not going to use them in this video. And also this tier here, H. H for hypocrite. And this is where I'm going to place all the rules that Jordan B. Peterson himself has broken throughout his career, or at least as far as I am, aware. So yeah, with that out of the way, let's get into it. Number one, tell the truth, or at least don't lie. Truth reduces the terrible complexity of a man to the simplicity of his word. Truth is the ultimate, inexhaustible natural resource. It's the light and the darkness. Oh, wow. Nice of you to wax poetically here. However, regrettably, Jordy B, you you became famous outside of Canada by lying about Bill C-16, by saying that by saying that protection against harassment is the same thing as compelled speech. Even even outside of that, you have been caught lying or misleading about a whole whole huge slew of, oh look, notification. Anyway, whole slew of other things. Maybe intentionally, maybe unintentionally, but still, you talk right out of your ass a whole bunch of times. So for that reason, your first rule for life, H. That's it. Uh, Rule number two: do not do things that you hate. Watch yourself. If you see that you're doing things that make you hate yourself, consider the cost of continuing. I would be very tempted to read this in his voice, but really, I do not want to. I do not want to introduce another Jordan B. Peterson impersonation into the world. The fact that we have the original is bad enough. We do not need any of the others. So do not do things that you hate. I Capitalism would collapse instantly if this actually came into effect and everyone in the world actually did this. Just saying. But otherwise, and even outside of that, like there are lots of people who do stuff they hate. How many people hate cleaning up? Quite a few. How many people clean up? Quite a few as well. So yeah, on its own, it might be good advice, but it's not perfect. Let's call it, I don't know. Let's give it a B. Okay, what next? Act so that you can tell the truth about how you act. Stop doing things that you know are wrong that you could stop doing. It might be a little thing. That's fine. Stop doing it and see what happens. You strengthen yourself. That is that is not advice. That is a prescription. That is something that you think will happen to whoever follows this. Jordy B, stop doing that. But however, as for the advice itself, act so you can tell the truth about how you act. That is weird. Just saying, it's a very weirdly phrased sentence. Stop doing things that you know are wrong. Yeah. Well, how many people know the things they do are wrong, and also how many people don't care that it's wrong, either because it's something they like as per rule 2, or or because they see it as otherwise necessary, you know. So yeah. Uh, Also, what about people who are proud of stealing? Like, should they continue stealing? I don't think so. So this is unfortunately not good advice. D or F? Oh, let's put it in D for now. I'm pretty sure worse is to come. If it doesn't, I might move it down, or I might not. Actually, I'm gonna assume I'm not. So I'm just gonna try to put the rules as far up or down as I'm pretty sure they will settle. For now, however, I think we'll see a lot worse rules, and I want to keep F for the for the really bad ones. So for that reason, free goes in D for now. At number 4, pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. There is no faith, no courage, and no sacrifice in doing what is expedient. That is wrong, just saying. To have meaning in your life is better than to have what you want, because you may neither know what you want nor what you truly need. So many, so many greedy and unscrupulous business owners can twist this particular this particular phrase around in so many different ways and there's so many different ways to their advantage that it is absolutely disgusting. How about what's worse, they have the power to compel others to act, to act in that way, telling them, "Hey, don't do this because it's quick, because doing things quick does not help you. You need to do things that matter." However, that doesn't. However, in doing so, while they say what matters, they say what matters and they say what's quick. And in saying what matters and what's quick, they're robbing you of the opportunity to decide that for yourself. And because they can compel you, they can turn your life into whatever it is they want. So yeah. So yeah, this is not good advice, and it can lead to a lot of to a lot of problems. Also, however, in a personal sense, in a more personal sphere, uh, it might be helpful. It might be helpful in and of itself. However, this clarification does not clarify, and it only muddies the waters. So for that reason, 4 also gets in D. 5. If you have to choose, be the one who does things instead of the one who is seen to do things. If you fulfill your obligations every day, you don't need to worry about the future. If you do things and are also seen to do things, that still counts as you doing things. Just saying. If you're saying that there are things you do only because there are things you do only because you want other people to see you do them, well, well, then that is actually a lot of the critique the left has towards towards corporations when it comes to stuff like Pride Month. They always put out their rainbowified logos and stuff in order to show themselves as a diverse and welcoming place, regardless of how atrocious their working campaigns are, or their working lives are, working conditions are, once you're actually inside. So yeah, being actually reformist instead of pretend reformist is a good motto in and of itself. In and of itself, I'll say. Uh, but otherwise, I don't know. It is it is trying to be against hypocrisy, or it is against or rather it is against people trying to, or it is against doing things for the sake of clout, which is ironic because Jordy B does lots of things for clout. I'm not gonna put this in. I'm not gonna put this into hypocrisy though, because to his mind at least he is not hypocritical. And also it's kind of a stretch from on my part as well. But overall, it's still kind of meh as advice, so it's going on C. Number 6, pay attention. What do you do if your life isn't in order? You fix it. Pay attention. Oh, I was wrong. Paying attention is like watching for something you don't know. It's an unbelievably powerful force. Unless we're talking about watching, unless we're talking about watching like a game or a match or you know in general sports. Like you're paying attention, but you're paying attention, but that doesn't really get your life much more in order to just look at a game. It might make you happier for a while, but does that lead to does that lead to improved uh, does that lead to improved lives you in the long term? The answer is obviously no. So yeah, while pay attention in general is not a bad rule, it all depends a lot on the specifics, and in this case, the specifics are not on Jordy B's side. It's another C. By the way, I'm grading these. By the way, I'm also grading these within the tier. So the closer you'll see a rule to the designation of the tier, the better I think it is. Next up, 7. Assume that the person you are listening to might know something you need to know. You want to enter into a conversation so that you come out wiser than you went in. I wonder whether or not he actually adopts this rule when he talks to people he knowingly disagrees with, like SJWs. Like, does he ever think that anyone who corrects him on what is and isn't compelled speech might have something useful to say? Needless to say, I'm not going to put this in H, but assuming everyone is smarter than you in some way can eventually have corrosive effects on your mental health. What you need to listen to instead is for things that are useful for the sake of the conversation. Sake of the conversation could be self-improvement, or it could be the improvement of someone else, or the discussion of an argument. And in that sense, it is more helpful to address the conversation rather than rather than make yourself in any way better through it. So for that, again, kind of a mediocre one. I will say it's worse than the, and I'll say it's worse than number 6, or is it? Not quite. It's a little bit better, but still a C. Number 8. Listen to them hard enough so that they'll share it with you. The sympathetic responses during a genuine conversation indicate that the teller is valued and that the story being told is important, serious, deserving of consideration, and understandable. Again, how often do you yourself actually practice this? How often do you listen to views you disagree with and dismiss them out of hand? Jordy B, huh? Can you tell me? Oh, you could have your justifications, but if you do, present your justifications. I don't see you really presenting your justifications. Whenever I do see you, I see you. I do see you as. How do people not get this? This is freaking obvious. It's freaking obvious to you, not to them. Anyway, there is more to listening than listening hard enough. But however, sympathetic responses are a factor towards that. I will admit. I am very tempted to put this in H tier because frankly it kind of deserves that. But overall, I think it's still good advice. Better than C, so it's going in B tier. Next up, plan and work diligently to maintain the romance in your relationship. First problem. Romance isn't the result of work, it's the result of passion. And passion needs to be spontaneous. So planning can actively harm it in lots of ways. Allow yourself to become aware of what you want and need, and have the decency to let your partner in on the secret. Do not expect the beauty of love to maintain itself without an all-out effort on your part. Well, okay, you are overly eager when it comes to this, Jordy B. You are way too focused on making sure everything goes just right. Romance isn't always just right. And it needs to be allowed to be messy. It needs to be allowed to be fun. It needs to be allowed to be spontaneous. And and for that reason, you're not really on the money here. But still, oh, I moved a bit too high. Okay, it's a pretty interesting piece of advice. So I'm putting it in B. Is it better than 8? Yeah, it's worse than 8 though. So yeah, it's well placed. Number 10. Be careful who you share good news with. You want to share good news with people who will be genuinely happy for you. That's one way you can identify those people who are on your side. I kind of have a personal disagreement with that because there's lots of news I don't really share with people who I know will be happy for me because it doesn't bring me personally anything, or because I might find their happiness to be unpleasant for a wide variety of reasons. Overall, though, I don't know. I really don't know where I would place this. Maybe I'll put it at the top of C. It's important to surround yourself with supportive people, but however, the people who are supportive aren't just the people who will be happy for you. The people who are supportive are people who are the people. I really have to I have to be careful how I word this. The people whose happiness should matter to you is the people for whom you know that happiness is genuinely mutual. Okay, let's move on. Number 11. Be careful who you share bad news with. That's the same! You've given me the same rule twice. Seriously? You can tell a true friend bad news and they'll listen. They won't derail the whole conversation about how something worse happened to them once. Okay, that is actually, when it comes to rules about discourse, are actually pretty good in social media. However, I'm pretty sure Jordy B would view all rules about that as, compelled speech. So, yeah. Anyway, because it's a repetition, I kind of want to place this at number 11, because unlike other things he thinks are obvious, this one is even more so. So yeah, rule number 11, D tier. Is it worse than the others on D tier? I'll just leave it there. Rule number 12. Make at least one thing better every single place you go. That's a good thing to strive for, not always manageable. Anyway, I'm on the side of the person who wants to do something positive with their life. Start by maximizing the quality of your life. Figure out how to do that in a way that's of benefit to your relatives and community. You start out with something very altruistic and then make it very selfish. Like, just saying. But still, overall, in and of itself, it's pretty good advice. So, is it really A tier? No, it's top of B tier. For now. Rule number 13. Imagine who you could be and then aim single-mindedly at that. Aim at something profound, noble, and lofty. Pick the best target you can conceptualize. Stumble toward it. Notice your errors and misconceptions along the way and correct them. Confront what stands in your way. That is, not gonna lie, actually good advice. So, surprisingly, this man who has at times accurately been described as a raving lunatic is capable of delivering useful advice. However, single-mindedly, aiming for something single-mindedly can affect your quality of life, and therefore going in contradiction to Rule 12. Also, aiming for something profound, noble, and lofty. Well, what if someone doesn't want to be profound, noble, and lofty? That yeah, that might sound that might sound outrageous to you, but it's something that happens. Also, the way you define profound, noble, and lofty is different from how someone else would. Even if they were to follow not just the rule but the supplemental, you would still not agree with that. But again, I'm not. But here I am arguing with someone who will probably never pay attention to me. But this advice is kind of. Where should I put it? I think about right back here should be fine. Okay, next up. Rule number 14. Do not allow yourself to become arrogant or resentful. If you're resentful, you're likely not standing up for yourself sufficiently, or someone is legitimately treading on your territory. You need to do something about that or live with the consequences. Notice how his supplemental is all about being resentful and not about being arrogant. It's like almost as though being resentful, which you could argue is legitimate in this case, is worse than being arrogant, which is almost always a flaw. You could argue, which is almost always a flaw. So what is actually going on here in this in this situation? Also, in the situation, I really don't know what to say. Do not allow yourself. Also, there are lots of ways in which this is unapplicable in this current situation. So you need to find. So yeah, I don't really know what to. I don't really know what to make of this here, but it's not good advice. 14 goes. Let's see here. It is still important to catch yourself when or be aware of your status. But however, you can't really allow yourself to be one way or another. That's not how human emotions work. 15. Try to make one room in your house as beautiful as possible. What about people who live in one-room houses? The world presents itself as a series of puzzles, some of which you're capable of solving and some of which you're not. If you want to change the world, you start with yourself and work outward. Okay, this last sentence is actually pretty good. The advice the advice here is actually, this is actually really helpful too. Okay, I'm stunned by Jordy B actually being helpful. So let's go with this. So he has given some A-tier advice. 1 piece so far out of 15. Let's see how many else he's got. 16. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. The people you compare yourself to, you don't know very well. You see a shiny outside, but not the reality of their life. Be less concerned with other people's actions. You have plenty to do yourself. I think I've kind of broken it so far by commenting on Jordy B, but who cares? Freedom of speech is a thing, so I plan to utilize it. But however, overall, this piece of advice, Kingsman, the Secret Service delivered it far more elegantly. A gentleman does not compare himself to others. He only compares himself to who he was the previous day. That was brilliant advice in the movie, and it is also generally some pretty good advice. So, surprise, surprise, S-tier advice. Jordy B is actually capable of delivering not just great, but excellent advice. 17. Work as hard as you possibly can on at least one thing and see what happens. You will change. You will start to become one thing instead of the clamoring multitude you once were. It is far better to become something than to remain anything but become nothing. Okay, this is literally stoner talk. or I think stoner talk would actually be more coherent. Whereas this is as Romanian YouTuber Codrin Brada said, nothing in a lot of words. let's still working towards well, still you need to work towards self-improvement, and you need to find the means through which self-improvement is realized. Does that mean as hard as you possibly can? What does it mean as you possibly can? Does it mean skipping work? Does it mean ditching family? Maybe it doesn't, but there's still a little too much ambiguity for me to really you know be too positive for it. Still, A-tier advice. Looks like Jordy B found his groove around here. If old memories still make you cry, write them down carefully and completely. If you're obsessed with memories of the past, most of them negative, there is a lot of you stuck in the past. Many people have parts of them that are stuck in some traumatic childhood experience. Okay. Reliving trauma is not how you get over it. It's how you get PTSD. Disclaimer: I'm not an actual therapist, but still, this piece of advice is very much rooted in the Freudian therapy, where you confront regressed memories and such, and that all coincidentally is also based on Jung, who I know Jordy B is a fan of. But when it comes to psychological treatment, there is a reason that is no longer applied. It is not helpful. So it seems around advice 18, around piece number 18, piece of advice number 18, Jordy B lost his groove. Maybe he'll get it back eventually. There are still 24 more rules to go through. However, how do I grade rule number 18? I'm gonna say here, close to the bottom of the. No, it's worse than that. How much worse is it? Middle of D? Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go with middle of D. Surprisingly, there's only one rule he has been hypocritical on so far. 19. Maintain your connections with people. There is no evidence that the importance of friendship declines in any manner with age. Oh, you're looking at evidence now. Interesting. But still, also good advice. One I should actually follow more carefully, but that's beside the point. I'm gonna give this. Yeah, I think this is about the right place for it. Or now let's put it here. Let's see, what was 15 again? Try to make one room. Yeah, it's better than that. 20. Do not carelessly denigrate social institutions or artistic achievement. We don't need to get married. We don't need a piece of paper. That's the depth of thought you put into it. You're not going to mark the occasion with conscious awareness and social celebration. There is more to marriage than conscious awareness and social celebration. And also, there is more to it than a piece of paper. There are also a whole slew of legal protections. Because there is a view to view it pragmatically, not just through your emotional lens. But also, however, does it count as does something like this count as denigrating social institutions? There are lots of social institutions that very rightfully deserve to be denigrated, and artistic achievement. Well, I could think of at least a few artistic achievements that Jordy B himself would not agree with and would call woke bullshit. Needless to say, also there is a reason freedom of expression exists. It's to be able to criticize things. What is it? You could say carelessly, so you could say that this rule includes the word carelessly, so it's not against all forms of criticism, it's just against bad criticism. However, what counts as bad criticism? Aren't people allowed to make mistakes? After all, I think, let's see. Work as hard as you possibly can on least one thing and see what happens. Rule 17 allows for mistakes. This does not. Overall, so yeah, not a good rule. But is it an F-tier rule? No. But it is something I've been talking about for a while. Another H rule. Number 21. Treat yourself as if you are someone that you are responsible for helping. Well, you are. You have a vital role to play in the unfolding destiny of the world. You should take care of, help, and be good to yourself the same way you take care of, help, and be good to someone you love. Wow, Jordy B got his groove back. This is actually good advice. So, but how good is it? I'm gonna say, is it better than 19? Let's check. What was 19 again? Yeah, it's better than 19. Rule number 22. Ask someone. Oh, we're at the halfway point. Ask someone to do you a small favor so that he or she, so that they, Jordy B, it's easier, can ask you to do one in the future. I'll need to think of it. No, this is a thinker of it. You don't obsessively keep track of who owes what, when, and why. That's a sign of a degenerating relationship. You do what you can for them, and they do what they can for you. This supplemental does not work with this. Does not work with this advice. Because in some way you are indeed trying to create a sense of debt towards someone. You're asking someone to do them a favor. You're asking someone to do you a favor, and therefore no wait. You're creating gratitude for yourself. Actually, okay, scrap that. You're asking for kindness here. Don't be it'll be much easier to say don't be afraid to ask for kindness. Yeah, you're once again overly wordy, but on its face it's might not actually be that bad, but still it's nothing groundbreaking. 22. Rule number 23. Make friends with people who want the best for you. Okay, you have an ethical responsibility to surround yourself with people who have the courage and faith and wisdom to wish you well when you've done something good, and to stop you when you're doing something destructive. Yeah, okay, that's actually good advice. I'll say, yeah, it's another S tier piece of advice. 24. Do not try to rescue someone who does not want to be rescued. Well, there goes suicide watch. It's a very dangerous activity and it can easily be counterproductive. The probability that they're going to take you down compared to you elevating them is very, very high. I say you're a coward, Jordy B. This is very much cowardly advice. Don't save anyone. Oh, okay. You could argue that it is don't save anyone who wants to be rescued. Well, maybe they don't know how to ask for it. But still, you need to be supportive of it. You need to be supportive of that person. Whereas this, I don't know. I very much see this as more like encouraging abandonment. For that, I'm gonna say 24 is an F tier piece of advice. Not good. 25. And be very careful about rescuing someone who does. Again, more cowardly advice. 25. And it's actually worse than 24. I'm actually tempted to move 24 a little bit higher now. But just a little bit. Let's say here. 26. Nothing done well is insignificant. I actually agree with that. I'm gonna say it's about here, middle of B. Though what is the thing you actually do? What is that thing you actually do well? Is it pulling off a robbery? Is it covering evidence for a murder? Like, it is significant, but it is not significant in the way you would you would want it to be. I'm just saying. Next up, rule number 27. Set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. Dude, you've been addicted to benzodiazepines while you are promoting self-help. That is, like, I don't even need to read the descriptor. This is hypocrisy at its peak level. Number 28, dress like the person you want to be. Okay, that's basic. Basic, and it means absolutely nothing. If you're talking about taking care of your appearance, well, to some extent I agree with that. But to another extent, it's just civility politics. It's I can't take you seriously because you don't look like I should take you seriously. So yeah, F tier advice. Number 29, be precise in your speech. How often have I corrected your statement so far, Jordy B? Let's say you're having a rough patch in your relationship and you don't know why. The issue is unnameable. Is it real? Well, yes. It's manifesting itself in a physiological discomfort. Then you talk about it, name it, and it goes from this blurry thing into a little monster. It's this precision that enables you to specify it. Now you can do something about it. It's little, at least, if you can admit to it. Okay, how often have I corrected you so far, Jordy B? First of all, and second of all, how often have your detractors pointed out this exact problem with what it is you're talking about? Another H tier. Sorry. Number 30. Stand up straight with your shoulders back. That's generally good for posture. To stand up straight with your shoulders back is to accept the terrible responsibility of life with eyes wide open. Bitch, please. Kids can do that. What responsibilities do they accept? It means deciding to voluntarily transform the chaos of potential into the realities of habitable order. You can do that with a hunchback? Hell. And hell, I would say this piece of advice is actually discriminatory to people who have spinal issues. So yeah. This is faux deep at its best. Or at its worst. F. 31. Don't avoid something frightening if it stands in your way. And don't do unnecessarily dangerous things. Remember number 2, that you should only do things that you like? Well, yeah. How does that mesh with this? Don't do unnecessarily dangerous things. Well, what if the thing you like is unnecessarily dangerous? Jordan, what are you doing? The gradual exposure to what you're afraid of is curative. Confront the world forthrightly and expose yourself courageously to things you're afraid of. Life will improve. Not always. There is more to combating phobias than exposure theories, exposure therapy. Also, something you're afraid of isn't necessarily a phobia. It can be rooted in trauma, and it can be rooted in other psychological issues. So avoiding it will not make it go away. It will make it worse. So even if it wasn't hypocritical, this probably would still get an F, but it's hypocritical, so it goes right to the bottom of F. And actually 27 is worse than 29, so yeah, this goes here. And 1 is even worse than any of these, so yeah. These go right here. 32. Do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. How about you instead talk to your kids about what it is they're doing, why they like it, and confront your own bias as to why you don't like it. That is much more helpful. That is much more helpful to you and to your and to your personal development. And also it benefits your children, because it allows them the ability to develop conversational abilities. So yeah, this is just bad. It goes no, not here. Okay. Yeah. Somewhere right about there. What was 28 again? Yeah, it's well placed. Number 33. Do not transform your wife into a maid. I have too many questions to ask, but I'm gonna sidestep all of them and just put this in D. No, actually, wait. Don't transform your wife into a maid as in don't give her money. Or rather, don't expect things. Don't expect things of her. This actually goes. Right along well with. Along well with 9. That you need to put effort into a. You need to put effort into a relationship. And this is about neglecting your relationship. Do not neglect your relationship. Which again, good advice. But it's not that good either. It's too obtuse. So for that reason, it goes right about here in the middle of C. Okay, next. Do not hide unwanted things in the fog. There will be times in your life when it will take everything you have to face what is in front of you, instead of hiding away from a truth so terrible that the only thing worse is the falsehood you long to replace it with. And you say that, and then you support Christianity. On its own, it could potentially be good. It is potentially good advice. However, Jordy B is too effective at hiding. At hiding things in fog. So for that reason, it's not his worst. This is not his worst hypocrisy, but still, it's a hypocrisy. 35. Notice that opportunity lurks where responsibility has been abdicated. The fuck? You positively need to be occupied with something weighty, deep, profound, and difficult. How about no? What would your life be like if you made use of all the potential that you were offered? What does it mean? What does it mean to have your potential be offered? Does it mean to just be born? Does it mean to accept job employment whenever you seek it? Like I imagine you like to think that this is something deep, and that this is you know this is the ultimate self-help advice of just go out there and do stuff. You will like wherever it is it leads to, but most of the time you won't. And also, a lot of what you will find will not be occupied with something weighty, deep, profound, and difficult. And therefore utilizing all of your potential will not fulfill this need that Jordy B describes here. So for that reason, 35 is kind of. I'll put it in a B. It's not really bad enough to be an F. Okay, 36. Read something written by someone great. What do you mean by great here, Jordy B? Carl Jung had an idea that part of personality development is to understand your shadow, the parts of you that you don't want to admit to. You can learn about your shadow by reading history. Wrong. A book isn't paper; it's a portal. That is actually true, in the in the way that it is meant to be taken, but you need more than history to learn about your than to learn about your shadow. Your shadow is learned about by looking into yourself, by being introspective, and by picking up on what it is that on what aspects of yourself really end up influencing you, and in what ways. But you don't really need something written by someone great to figure that out. You just need to you need to look into yourself. Reading something written by someone great could give you the insights towards that. but just general reading as a and general reading as a gateway to self improvement is kind of meh. Okay, it's not general reading; it's writing by someone great, but but that's not necessarily how it works because a lot of great people had a lot of their uh, had a lot of quite dramatic flaws. So yeah, and those dramatic flaws come from them come from their shadows being from them ignoring their own shadows. Like you might receive some advice, but also you might not. Overall, so overall 36 is kind of, I'll say, bottom of C. Okay, maybe a bit higher. Let's put it here. Sounds good enough. Next up, rule number 37. Pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. This was the last rule of the original 12 rules for life, if I'm not mistaken. When things are not good and hard, you get these little moments where a little bit of possibility still shines through. You've got to take those moments when you get when you get them. So this is another low key clue that Jordy B is on that hustle culture Sigma grind set. And he notices that even though things are hard, you gotta grasp for the thing for what works or what is beautiful. However, the problem is that that cat might not want your hands petting it. So and yeah, and chasing it is actually it could actually be damaging to whatever it is you're doing, or to whatever makes things hard. It sounds good, and it sounds very much like something my mother would like, but it is not really that good as advice. I'm gonna put it maybe here, middle of D. 38. Do not bother children when they are skateboarding. They jump in the air, grab their skateboard, balance on the rail, and slide for 20 feet. Children are practicing being courageous. They're practicing mastering something in the face of danger. Well, what if you don't like it when your kids skateboard? Like, what was it? What was it? You said it rule 32? Do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. What if what if you dislike skateboarding? Like, you know, I like my rule when it comes to that better. Like, confront them with what makes like really confront yourself with what makes you dislike skateboarding, or confront yourself in general with anything that seems to go you know against your against your principles. Like yeah, that is my so yeah that's okay. Well, let me summarize that. The general idea here is children are indeed practicing being courageous. My voice is scratchy as fuck now, and it is good to allow them to do so. However, you need to understand what it is that what it is that really leads to them. That improves that also improves your your well-being and your and your sanity. This small little piece of advice is very much incomplete and also very much in contradiction to something else you said. So 38. If 32 didn't exist, this might be in the on the lower end of C, but as such it's H. 39. Don't let bullies get away with it. I usually use a rule of 3. If we interact and you do something that I find disruptive, I'll note it. If you do it again, I think that probably wasn't merely a situation. I'll leave it be because that's still not enough evidence. If you do it a third time, then I'll say, hey, I just noticed this. Not only did it happen, but it happened here, and it happened here. So there's something going on here. I'm not ignoring it. You've allowed a bully to get away with it twice already. Okay? In your description, you've already allowed something disruptive to happen 3 times. Confront him about it. Confront him about it the first time. That's it. That's really all you need to do. That's what you need to do. Also, bullies isn't just something I find disruptive. Bullies are. Have you ever seen videos from Russian schools about with kids who are pounding each other? Not that way, you sick fucks. But like that, like bullying is not just being disruptive or being loud. Bullying is actively harmful, and it is actively violent. This is at best milk toast, at worst utterly ineffective. So 39. 39 goes in the bottom at the bottom of F tier. I can't help but notice this clustering. Jordy, you're really slipping off. Come on, you got three more. Let's see what else you got. At number 40, write a letter to the government if you see something that needs fixing and propose a solution. Oh, so you don't need to make sure your house is in perfect order before you fix something, huh? Once again, this is not as badly hypocritical, but it's still hypocritical. So get over there. Yeah. Number 41. Remember that what you do not yet know is more important than what you already know. Okay. It is much better to make friends with what you do not know than with what you do know, as there is an infinite supply of the former, but a finite stock of the latter. Wow. That is actually good. Make peace with the fact that you are limited. However, do not be complacent in your limitation. That is a distinction that Jordy B is kind of hinting towards, but not really putting on paper. It would be much more helpful to put that on paper than a lot of the things he's mentioned so far. So, however, overall, this piece of advice is it's still not spectacular, but it's useful. It's high on the C tier. And last but perhaps least, be grateful in spite of your suffering. Oh, so you mean you don't want people to avoid things that the things that cause them pain or that they don't want to do? Jordy, you fucked up right at the end. And you seemed like might be going well again, but you didn't. There is some real utility in gratitude. Gratitude is a process of consciously and courageously attempting thankfulness in the face of the catastrophe of life. Oh, yeah. So you're in prison being abused by the guards. Be thankful. Be grateful you're not dead. Be grateful you're not dead. Yeah, This is bad advice. This even ignoring the fact that it is hypocritical, it is bad advice. Is it however as bad as number 38? Why did I put 38? Never mind. Okay. Be grateful in spite of suffering. I'm gonna say it's worse. This is where 42 belongs. And yeah, please ignore column NA, and in fact I'll make it easier for you. This is the tier ranking of Jordan B. Peterson's Dr. Jordan B. Peterson's 42 Rules for Life. Some of them could be helpful. Overall or in general. Some of them need caveats, and many more are just bad, or the author himself considered as outright ignorable. I wish I could say I'm surprised by the distribution, but I'm really not. This man is what is often described as a learned idiot. He has some ideas of what is good and helpful, but a lot of those ideas don't really mesh with the realities that people actually face around them. So for that reason, this is about as good as you're gonna get. And yeah, that was my video. Thank you for your attention, and I'm sorry for my sorry for my stuttering. This is one take after all. If you enjoyed it, then please leave a like. Maybe even share it wherever you think others will like it as well. If you have anything you'd like to comment on any part of what I just said, including if you're a Jordan B. Peterson fan who who thinks I'm a total idiot, then go ahead and leave that in the comments as well. I look forward to reading your badly written insults. And if you're ready to see when my and if you're willing to see and if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe. Ideally, also ring the bell or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. I also have a main channel where I talk about more bookish and literature topics, which I will link in the description down below, right past my social media, should you also feel inclined to look into it. Yeah, that was about it. Until next time, I have been the One Take Man.